Welcome to the Village North Hudson Public Works and Utilities Committee meeting of Tuesday, January 17th, 2022 at 5:30 p.m. Item number 1 is call to order. Roll call, please.
Chair Pike.
Here.
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 Trustee Merrill.
She's absent. Item number 2, approve the minutes of November 15, 2022 Public Works meeting. Need a motion.
I move to approve the minutes from the November 15th, 2022 Public Works meeting.
And I'll second that. Any discussion?
I'd just like to comment that they aren't yet posted on the public website, but that Chair Pike and myself have received them and reviewed them.
Okay, thanks. All right, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Passed. Item 3, comments from the floor, and the gallery is empty. Item number 4, water and wastewater metering discussion only. Patrick.
Okay, so I know we've been talking about metering the water and wastewater, and I guess I got some preliminary plans from Hudson today, and it looks like they are going to be putting in a meter vault on their side. I guess I would like to get you guys' opinions or whatever on, do you still want to pursue having meters on our side? It's something.
I do,
It's something that you guys need to decide that and see if you want me to continue down that road.
I guess I don't understand what the difference would be on which side it's metered on and how that impacts the information that we have available to us.
So it would be, from what I understand is, or what I'm guessing would happen is that would all be connected to Hudson's SCADA system. So I don't know. I'm not sure if we would have access to that, I guess.
We don't in general.
That would be my only concern, is that maybe we wouldn't have immediate access.
So would we have, because it's a fairly, I mean, what is, if you can remind us what the meter vault estimate was?
I honestly don't remember. What the heck was it?
Remember, but
They're not cheap. I'll give you that.
that one's going to be quite expensive.
I guess I'll make a note, and before the next meeting, I'll just email you guys out an estimate on that.
And then if we can find out too what our access would be to the data, if Hudson was metering on their side, if you would be able to have like access to the data portal or however they're maintaining that data so that you could review that data at the times that you need to.
Do you have access to their SCADA system right now? No. I don't think we're going to get access to that. So it would be a check and balance for us to have our own meter.
What, I mean, and where do we stop that? I mean, if we can't trust the data that we're getting from them on this, like what?
Well, we brought up the metering because they weren't metering.
Right, but now they're going to meter.
Well, now that we're saying we're going to meter and basically saying the way that they were charging us for years without a meter was a little untenable. And DNR said, you can do it that way, but it's not very accurate. And we believe that the return on investment was going to show up pretty quickly.
Right.
If we had a meter on there.
Right.
So,
Now they're saying they're going to meter it.
Government is all full of checks and balances for a reason, right? I mean, all forms of government have checks and balances in it. I don't think it would be wrong for us to have a check.
But don't they meter the other things? Like, why would we pick this point that we have to meter ourselves and duplicatively pay for something that's being metered? I mean, where do we end that? Where do we start that and where do we end that?
Well, it's undetermined exactly also who's going to pay for the meter on our side, even though we are saying at this point we're willing to pay for it if we need to pay for it, but there's still some questions that have to be resolved about the big Riverside lift station, which the ad hoc committee is supposed to be working on.
Right.
That's sewer though.
Sewer
Right.
side, yeah.
Because I mean, wouldn't we be paying for it twice? If they pay for it and we pay for it, then
Right.
our ratepayers have paid for it twice. If Hudson pays for it and we pay for it too for the same thing. Isn't that twice?
whenever Hudson decides to do anything to their systems that we already have in place, that exists, that we might be paying for it twice. Yes. We were talking sewer and water metering.
Yes, we were, but right now, in the moment, we were talking about water, so I just didn't want
Okay.
things to get confused, that's all.
Well, okay, it says water and wastewater metering.
It does,
And
I'm
I'm-
not,
I'm not saying we don't want to meter the water, but I'm very curious about the waste.
yeah,
So
for sure.
Okay.
I'll continue down that road. I'm asking about the water, though. I brought that up just to get a feel for
So is the metering on the other side water, or is it?
water.
Oh,
Yep, for the Malibu crossing.
it's the waste that I'm mostly concerned about.
Okay. Okay.
I'm not opposed to doing metering on water, but
Okay.
I really want to see what the waste is, because we haven't been able to check that for a long time.
Okay.
Okay, any other questions about that? So
So-
you're gonna get us some, he said he's gonna get us some info?
I'll get you something and email it out. Yep.
About the water and the waste.
Waste. Yep. I'll get
So
on-
we don't know if they're talking about metering the waste, just the water.
I can't imagine. I don't know
Yeah.
if they would or not, but
That's just for the water main side, and again,
Okay.
that's only should there ever be a need to bring water over to the community. I mean, right now you have wells and towers within the village. That's just in case, say like there's a huge fire demand, like
So-
down at the shop yards, you can pull water from the city in that scenario. But other than that,
So the water metering on our side would be inbound only?
no, I basically when I spoke to you guys whenever a while ago about metering, this is exactly what I wanted to do.
Okay,
Was to have flow going over and back.
Perfect.
To see what was going where, because there seemed to be a lot of miscommunication when we were
Related,
going through
yes.
that we needed the water.
right,
So that was my drive behind this.
okay. And I don't know if you remember this, but in conjunction with that, he kind of told us what our wells are doing up here, if I remember, what percentage.
Yeah, I
of
think they
use.
run at like 23 or 26% capacity, so they're way more than enough for what we have. Yep.
Okay. Anything else on that? All right. Item number 6, snow emergency parking restrictions, discussion only.
Did we finish 5 then?
Oh,
I
sorry.
don't have anything, so.
Yeah,
I
I'm
have
sorry.
it as future agenda, so.
Okay.
He wants that on a future agenda item, which was the Riverside Drive duplex sanitary sewer control plant, and that's the Little Riverside, right?
Yep,
Yep.
yep.
Just, since you brought it up on number 5, what were we waiting on that? A quote still? or-
I'm still waiting on quotes, and I wanted to, at the last meeting, we talked about, because I had gotten quotes before, and now they're a
Outdated.
year or better old, so, and then now we've got all we're gonna be waiting for stuff for
About a year.
a while, so, I'll see if I can't get moving on that sooner
Yeah, with
rather
all
than
this
later.
extra time you've had, you know.
Yeah, no, I'll get on it.
Lovely snowfalls.
Yep.
All right. Is that good enough on that one?
Yep.
Item 6, snow emergency parking restrictions, discussion only.
So this one I wanted to put on here, seems like this comes back every year, about this time of year. Actually this year I've gotten a few emails from residents that were frustrated about, maybe not getting cleaned up, all the way to the curbs, not, whatever. Both of the emails that I had gotten, they suggested having, one side or the other parking, which would help a great deal. I'm not saying that people can't park on the street, but if we could have 1 month you park on one, you know what I mean? Or somehow figure that out so that there'd be one side, so we could clean that side completely, because we always have to go back out and clean up. So if we could get one side cleaned up, people could move their cars over within the next day or two, we'd be out and we could have both sides cleaned up. Would help a lot, so I would like to maybe investigate some other communities, because from what I understand, I think we're probably the only community that doesn't have any kind of parking restriction, snow emergency
Well, we wrote one a
restrictions.
while
Yeah,
ago.
yeah,
It
and
could-
so
that one
I'd
could
like to
just-
bring it back up again, I guess,
It could be just modified to address that particular issue.
if there's a appetite for it, I guess, is what my concern.
I'm not opposed to it. I helped write the last one.
I was just looking to see, so there's literally no restrictions on street parking in the village at all?
4 hour,
Well, 24 hour.
that's true all year round.
Yep.
But we are not finding that's working real well. I mean, I'm looking at 4th Street today, and there's cars that have been there for a while. And I shouldn't say a real long time, but long enough that these guys couldn't hit a whole section of 4th Street.
So more than a day.
Yes. Which makes the road get narrower and narrower, because when they finally do get back to get it, if it's been iced over by that point in time, it's even harder for them to clear that particular side. So I completely get what he's saying. I mean, you realize this would have to involve a communication vehicle as well.
A what?
The communication would have to go out, okay?
Yeah, yep.
And I'm not thinking, you're thinking one side per month, and I'm thinking.
Well, I don't know how that would work. I just throwing it out there. You could have like an odd even type of thing.
I would think an odd even would be better, because otherwise it's gonna take forever to get to it.
Yeah.
We would just say on these, or all streets, you must park on the odd side on odd days and on the even side on even days, and I would think that would be something people could get used to.
Because if I'm being honest, I don't know if they got the neighborhood together or what, but down on Fifth Street, those last few snowfalls,
Yeah.
it's been awesome. They all got together and they parked on one side so we can get one side cleaned up, and it works great.
And then they move to the other side.
And then they move to the other side and we can get it cleaned up. So it does work really nice.
Okay, well, can you resurrect that old,
Yeah, yep,
Okay.
I'll bring it back. I just wanted to make
Obviously.
sure that was something that,
that's, that's not the way we're going, although I thought it was in there. So, and then we're gonna need the chief to weigh in on.
yep, yeah, we'll have to run it through public
Public
safety
safety,
and,
yeah.
yep,
And additionally, we really would need, it'd have to be managed through our website too, like the
Right.
information would be
The
posted. And it
communication,
seems
that's
like
what
it should come out on the email listserv too, so that would be a new responsibility for somebody. But that seems like if you're really gonna do it, because they have to then ticket and tow or it doesn't work.
Right,
So if you have to
Yep.
ticket and tow, then you have to notify people or they
Yep.
get really upset.
yep,
Rightly
yep.
so.
Even if they get notified, they get upset.
Right, right.
and it's gonna be, it'll be, if we get it done this year, we're talking about fall before it gets implemented, or early winter.
Yeah.
And then it's gonna take them a whole winter to get used to, this is how we do it now. I would think that a lot of our residents, like Fifth Street residents, would love it, that they're getting their road cleared like that.
Well, like I said, I don't know if somebody got together down there or what they did, but it worked great.
Because so down on 4th Street, there's 3-4 cars in a row on the west side, and then a little further on, they're on the east side, 3-4 cars. And so we've got this,
It's a good idea. The issue always comes when people get towed, and that's huge expense for people.
well,
And so
knowing
how
our
do we?
chief, he would give them, 1 or 2 warnings and keep track of that. And if they keep doing it, that's when they'd get towed.
Well, we should have that in the policy
It would
then.
be in the policy, yeah.
Then they have to keep track of
definitely-
tickets.
That's,
He'll definitely have to weigh in on that.
yeah,
Yep.
yeah, okay.
Yep.
Anything else on that?
All right.
We're both for it, though, right?
Okay.
If it's set up appropriately and we have a mechanism to inform people and
Yes.
keep them updated.
Okay.
I'll just keep bringing it back and we'll try to hammer out details and whatever and see if we can figure something out then.
You want to see if you can find the old one, or?
I know I have it, so
Okay.
I'll,
Does all the multifamily housing have adequate off-street parking associated with it?
Not all of it, no.
So that will be, okay.
But-
Yeah,
So
so
they
we
will have to
can't-
be moving cars.
Well, even where we have it, on 4th Street, there's a spot where 3 or 4 cars from the multi, where they have the area to park, they're parking out on the street and walking up into the multi-living area. So it's, you know, once they get warned a few times, I think that might make a difference. And it's, like I said, about a year out, so.
Yep.
Okay. Item number 7, chair update. The next time we meet is February 14th, so have a happy Valentine's Day if I forget to say it on that day. That's all I got. Item number 8, engineer report. Kevin.
The only thing I have is we have final numbers in for the St. Croix Street resurfacing project, so I'll start working on the final special assessment report, and then I'll bring that to the next Public Works meeting. You can take a look at it, but every indication, it looks like it's gonna come in less than what the preliminary is, so there will be a cost savings to the property owners.
When we were hoping for that because of the work our guys were doing involved in that project. When you show us that, would you show us what you think our Public Works Department saved us?
Yeah,
Because I'd like to point that out.
can do.
Good. All right, any questions for Kevin? Item number 9, director report, project updates.
Thank God we don't have any projects going on right now. Basically, I'm sure people have noticed, we're trying to, we got Zappa Brothers is out, and we're trying to pick snow up because there's no more room left. So they've been working, we've been working loaders, and then we've been using the skid steer with the snow blower. Where there's not sidewalks, we tilt it way down as to not put it on people's porches or anything, but we're just trying to get the street cleaned up, just because we're worried about the next snowfall. There's no more room, so we've been hauling it away. And that's basically all we've been doing for the last 2 to 3 weeks. We did get the new Chevy. We got the salt sander modified and put on that, so that's installed. We just brought it up to Star Prairie to get the plow put on. That should be done tomorrow, so we'll have that. That should be all ready to go.
Nice.
And we got one pickup, got the hail damage fixed on it today, so we got one left to go.
Good.
And that's about it.
Insurance covering that?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
Patrick, do you know how many hours or how much of the contract that we've used up with Zappa Brothers? I think we had, was it 7,000?
6.
6?
I don't have any idea.
So
right
the
now.
way that works is they bill us and they tell us how much, you know, we find out from the billing, how much is left of the 6,000. So this is, combination, it's not really on him. It's a combination of, the treasurer / administrator letting us know how that contract is doing. And have you even seen a bill? You wouldn't have seen one yet, right?
But wouldn't we be directing the work for how much they're going to do? I mean, it isn't
that he
open-ended.
does.
Yeah,
So,
I do.
so when they're directed to go out and clear from curb to curb, is that what they're doing right now? Mm-hmm. So do we have any,
Haul.
pardon?
And haul.
And haul?
snow. Yep.
So do we have any idea, like, what that
I can
entails?
get you an idea. I can send you an email. I just don't have it on the top of my
Sure,
head right now.
okay. I mean, so like roughly, are we like gonna blow the whole 6,000?
I can give you a ballpark. I'm gonna tell you you're probably gonna get pretty darn close.
Yeah, okay, thank you.
If not over.
Yeah, okay.
Well, you know, that record snowfall would say that we definitely needed that backup.
got a lot of
That's why
snow.
It's why we have them for backup. But yeah, I guess if you could even just email this committee.
Yep, I can do that. I'll get a
ballpark.
ballpark number, or it'll be a rough number. I won't have an exact figure, but
So we may need to have additional funding for snow removal this year because the current snow situation may have used up all of our additional contract.
Maybe, but because that's all, there's multiple accounts in that, one would wash the other if we don't spend out of one, so we could be just fine.
It depends how big the snow
Yep.
comes.
Yep.
How much
Yep.
snow.
What we get left, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, after you look at what California got hit with all that rain,
Yeah.
and it ended up being a disaster, right? I mean, I think the president's flying out there to look it over, and so you can get some money from that, and I don't think you can ever we've never gotten it for snow, have we? Any kind of disaster relief? I don't think so.
Just
We don't want to see
just
that.
tornadoes.
No, tornadoes, yes. But I think we've always believed that if we pushed past, there's money available to push past if we need more of Gary's help after the 6th, but we haven't passed the 6 or 7 in, I think, the last 4 years. So we have underutilized them. Okay, any other questions about that subject for Patrick? All right, anything else on your director report?
Not right now. I got some future agenda stuff, but that's it.
Okay, item 10, Public Works Capital Equipment Current and Future Budgeting. Anyone have any future spending they want to do?
Yes.
Okay, what?
I guess I would suggest you guys do what you want with it, but another plow truck, or, however you want to do that, however that would look, we'd have to work things out. Nathan and I were talking today about, because it's a 15-year cycle on them, and if you could,
Which truck is up?
the Mac. Well, it's not up. It's,
Mac?
No. It's not up. It's not up. That's not what I'm saying. It's a 15-year cycle on it. So what he's suggesting, or what we kind of came up with together, is that if we had another truck in the mix, then you've always got a fairly new truck. One that's probably within 8 years. So every 8 years you would turn over a truck. You'd have two.
Are you talking 2 big ones, then?
Yeah. And part of my reasoning for that is that if something happens and that goes down, we don't have anything to back it up.
Wouldn't the F-150 back it up?
Yeah.
Not the F-150, the big one.
Well, yeah, it would, but not even close.
You're talking talking about having the arm and everything
Yeah.
on a second one. And you think when we hit 8 years, how close are we to that? We bought that one.
That's a 17.
We purchased in 17, so we're 5 years in.
Yeah. So I'm just throwing it out there, just giving you guys a little bit of
Are
food
you
for thought.
recommending, I mean, we already have a vehicle fund. Are you recommending a separate fund just for the 2 big ones to keep those filled?
That's actually what the treasurer and I were talking about,
I got you.
was doing something like that and then putting a certain amount in each year.
Do you understand?
So that we wouldn't have to take out a loan. It would
Right.
be it would be just a flat purchase. Yeah, I guess it's just, like I said, food for thought. And then we'd also talked about the loader, because we could get a wing for that to mount on, so you could clear more.
Right.
You'd have another 8 or 9 feet
And that's
of clearing power.
2 years old or 3?
3.
3.
Yep.
So that's another possibility,
Yep.
getting a wing for that instead of getting
Well-
a second Mac?
Okay, so yes, it is a possibility, but just know that loader's a lot slower than the Mac. I mean, we plow with it, but it's 20, not even 20 miles an hour. Most of the time, it's probably closer to 11 or 9, because you're
Well,
pushing,
Right.
so it's working. And where the Mac, you're gonna clear stuff a lot faster. Just like I said, I'm just throwing it out there, just
Yeah,
food
no,
for thought.
Interesting thought. I've actually
Because I
seen
know
them.
when we bought the Mack and Brian Fry was here, I know he told the board, he said, if you've got one truck, you've got none, but if you've got two, you've got one. And he's right. Because if something happens, God forbid, if we had a snow like this and it broke down, yes, we could handle it, but then we would have the outside contractor
I'm-
in here and we'd
yeah.
go through that $6,000 like that.
So I'm not opposed to
You know, so
the
at least
possibility of setting up
investigate.
a secondary fund for the MAC, which, I mean, based on what we paid for that thing, we'd have to pump a lot of money into that fund real quick.
They're like 200,000.
I know, so to get it though, on an 8-year, and
Yeah.
we'd
Yep.
have to pump some significant money into it. so-
Or take out a loan for the first one.
Oh, and
We had
then
discussed that
start
too,
building it.
and then
So would you,
combine that with something else.
would you get a recommendation in writing from our treasurer about
Sure.
the best way give us some
Sure.
options on how he
Sure.
wants to do it?
Well, I mean, we can buy a lot of plowing for 200,000 too. I mean, if the only need is to cover it during repair, that seems like, 200,000 is a lot to spend to cover a repair period.
Where would you buy it?
I don't know.
Okay,
I don't know.
that would be my problem.
I don't know. I'm assuming repair, not replace, because we've already got a
Sure.
15-year replacement as opposed to a repair. So I think that's, that would be part of the equation too. Can we get that? Can we get the kind of backup that we need on a short-term basis to extend a time period while it was being repaired, however long that takes? I don't know. Is that a week? Is that
Sure.
2 weeks? Like, just to look at that, because 200,000 is a lot of money, even if
Yep.
we're, putting it in piece by piece, because our budget increased $3,000 between 2022 and 2023. So trying to come up with that kind of funds over a short period of time, there isn't a lot of space.
Yep. And again, don't get me wrong, I'm not saying we have to do it right away, I'm just kind of
Yep.
throwing it out there, just
Yeah,
to,
and I'm not saying that we shouldn't do it.
Yep,
I
so you
just
can chew
wanna
on
look at what the options are for fill-in.
okay.
Okay, so
Yep.
you and Nate are gonna get us
So, yeah, we can, and Nathan's very good at that. We'll sit down and figure things out and get something put together. And the only reason I caution about the getting somebody to do it is generally when something like that breaks down from past experience, it's not at the most opportune time. And we're gonna have a hard time finding somebody to, hey, can you come over here? You know what I mean? It's just.
Zappa can't do that?
Yeah, no, he certainly can. He doesn't, he's obviously got things out in other places and whatnot, so.
Yeah.
It just,
he's
it would be
not-
awkward,
Okay.
that's all.
Trying to get him to help us beyond the 6,000 would be tough. And getting anybody else in here is even tougher.
But
We've
isn't-
tried.
I thought 6,000 was like the minimum of the contract that, that we had to pay whether
Yeah.
we spent it or not, and we can pay more
We
if
can.
we have more work.
We can.
Yep.
But you've got to understand, he's anticipating about $6,000 worth of hours to help us as well. He's not anticipating that we're going to go after him for 12,000 hours, because he's got other contracts that he's got to also plow. When he helps us, it's almost like, we're asking, and when he's able to, he will come and help us.
So our minimum for the plow contract isn't really a minimum, it's a maximum.
No,
No.
it is a minimum.
It is a minimum, but the reality of it is that he has a lot of other contracts, and he has to put his time, he has to make as much money as he can for snow plowing for his company, right? So he knows that at least 6,000 is gonna come in here, and if we need him for extra and he has the time, we'll get him for extra. Otherwise, he would be asking us to commit to a higher number right off the get-go. He has to make his own plans. These are things that we've tried to figure out for years with him, and even though it's only a minimum, he can still come help us if he has time. But he is also obliged to try and get as many contracts out there as he can to make as much money as he can and keep his guys working. That doesn't make sense to you?
Well, what doesn't make sense is that we have a vendor that we contract with for up to $6,000, which is a minimum, but isn't a minimum. And that say it broke down and we hadn't spent anything, you know, that we needed coverage for something and they came in and did that and we hadn't spent anything yet, then it seems like, well, they'd have to come in and do it because we hadn't spent anything. So I'm confused about the service level that we get under that contract, I guess.
Can you explain it differently?
Well, I
Did
read the contract.
No, no,
Okay,
I don't
maybe you,
necessarily want to get into that.
okay, otherwise we could have her go sit down with Gary and have him explain how that contract
I don't need to do that. I don't need to do that. I read the contract, I understand the contract. I'm just trying to understand how this all actually works, like what the service level is that we actually get. And so
Sure.
I'm understanding that it's undetermined.
And don't get me wrong, Gary will go above and beyond. He always has.
Yeah.
Yeah, always
Right.
has.
So it's not,
Yeah, I
that's not
understand
an
that.
issue. It's just that, I guess Brian is just trying to point out that there's, you know, like, we aren't the only place that he services, so.
I totally
And I think that's it.
Totally
So
understand that.
Nobody's, yeah. Gary's not gonna leave us hanging out to dry. He won't. He hasn't done that to me yet, so.
Right. Yep, that's great. You have a good relationship.
Yep.
And he's very obviously dedicated
He is.
to the work.
Yep.
But, so, going back to the start of what we were talking about, the whole concept of having a second truck is coming from professionals that are telling us, if you have one, you have none. If you have two, you have one. And we have been trying to work towards that end, at least since 2015, try and get our equipment back to where it needed to be so we could be a little more self-sufficient and not pay these really high contractor costs that we were paying before I got here. And we have saved a lot of money doing that. Okay. And loans aren't a bad thing. So if you're telling me that that year 8 needs to be a loan, I'm fine with that too.
Well, I'll get together with Nathan and we'll put some stuff together and
Okay. Anything else?
I'll bring it back. Nope.
Item 11, future agenda items. Okay, so we already know the control panel is one of those. Anything else? Kevin, Patrick, Mary?
Nope.
Just of course, I guess it's probably not public works, but something that I don't want to lose sight of is the HVAC system for the village hall. I'd like to keep that in the forefront because I've never investigated it enough, but I would say that we're probably very inefficient. So putting in something new, even though it would be a cost, I think in the long run would save quite a bit of money just to have individual rooms heated instead of now having a big zone where you've got one person that's cold and one person that's hot and you're using other forms of cooling and heating and I
Yeah.
think it's very inefficient.
Especially, you know, if there's a way, and I'm sure a heating company could do that, show us an ROI, that makes sense, how we're so inefficient now, which I agree with. Yeah, I hope you can keep moving on that.
Okay. We're on future agenda, right?
Yes.
So the other thing that I would like to bring up is the sewer surcharge that we currently have that supports the 210 fund. It's been years since we've looked at that, and I think we should. And I think with talking with Nathan, I think it should be a flat rate instead of a percentage because it gets really cloudy and it's hard to figure for Hudson, I think.
Oh,
You know,
right.
it's just hard to figure out.
Oh, no, I get it.
So if it were $10 or whatever it may be, that's an imaginary number. I'm not saying that that's the one, but if it were just a solid number, then we would know exactly what was in that fund, and those costs from that fund have increased. So we may want to take a look at that. It's been a good 20 years since we've looked at that, so.
Wow.
The surcharge for
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
residents, yeah.
Yep. So I would like to put that on the next
Do it.
future agenda, just to talk about it.
Does Nathan have some sort of a visual or a budget or some estimate?
Yep, from what he was talking, he's got some numbers, so we'll get something put together for that. Yep.
We were discussing this at budget time, and this particular item came up, that we had not looked at it in some time, and we may not be collecting enough to actually keep those funds where they need to be. Anything else? You guys? All right, item 12 is adjourn, and we are adjourned at 6:05 PM. Thank you.